More than enough. Okay. We'll do a safety thumbnail later in the video. Hello, hello, hello.
Well, no, we can do it now. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
But you're supposed to have your mouth open in these things. You're just okay. Well, I'm super in the blurry spot because Paleo is the focus.
Yeah, closer to the board. Okay. We're just warming up, but we'll start the show in a few minutes. If you are watching this is a recorded live stream, which means it will take a few minutes before we actually officially start. We're just waiting for our other viewers. Please feel free to jump forward or to just watch us ramble as we manually reshare the link. Yeah. And yes, if you're wondering why it's so dark, we're in a cave.
Yeah, we're in the cave of high contrast. Because look now, it's like it's gone again, and then
yeah, the lights are like.
Thank you, all white box.
See, and now I have this like mysterious glow from the monitor. Oh, you should bump up your monitor so your brightness. That gives you some.
No, but I'll always be darker because the restream interface.
Why did that play?
Loop loop.
There.
Okay, what am I doing? I am getting my links. Okay.
Very grainy video again.
Uh-oh. Do we have audio? Oh yeah, we did because I heard it in the thing. Okay.
Yeah, we do. Why?
Because I didn't check settings.
Oh, okay. Does the thing. Prepping the links. Reposting the links.
Just careful.
Yes, thank you, Mai. Mai confirmed that we have audio. If anyone is viewing, feel free to respond in the chat. That allows us to know that you're watching, and we will incorporate your comments as part of the show. I actually don't see us yet on Facebook.
Yeah, I can't seem to tag you anymore.
It's okay. I don't know why.
You're untaggable. Are you hiding from me?
Why am I untaggable? I did not change anything. It's so strange. Hey, Mon.
Hi,
so
Mon.
nice of you to visit. I saw that teaser. Oh my god, can we play the teaser?
I think, yeah. I have Odivas already forwarding the.
So tempting to play the teaser on air. So excited. See, I'm hurting our own show.
Use the funny.
Oh my gosh. So exciting.
Whoa, other light super blink. It's because you're typing. I guess.
Yeah, this one.
Let me double check settings.
But admittedly, the box is like super visible. Contrast. We shouldn't have worn black.
That was okay. Yeah, that was in hindsight a bad idea. But okay, majority of our paired shirts are black shirts. So what can we do? And then we had recently worn Jurassic Park. So then it's like, oh, then we'll just wear King Kong because at least it's kind of simian as a thing. What am I doing? I am prepping trailer. Well, intro. Sorry, not trailer. I need water. I'll be right back.
Oh yeah, I didn't give you water.
Nope.
I'm sorry. I thought I did. It's so hard living in a cave.
It'll be. I don't know if you're gonna sell that.
Because if we move the light, see, so we're brighter. Okay, the it's still visible. I guess we can live with that.
Yeah, it's just slightly. Oh, Mon, it's a board game.
Yeah, we'll be talking all about this board game. Sadly, it's not on Steam yet, because some board games do eventually appear on Steam.
Yeah, but then like, what are recent games na parang mon games?
Mon Games, I think Mon would appreciate Concordia. But I think he'll find it bitten because it's not really building cities.
Yes.
Baka mas type pa niya Tapestry, as
Mm-mm.
odd as that sounds. Um, Pardon me as we take our multivitamins for the pandemic.
Yeah, to enhance whatever.
Okay, so I guess we can start.
Yep. Okay. We'll roll intro and be right back. I'm in the blurry spot. Okay, I'll be right back.
Oh yeah! Baduy Pride!
Hey everyone, this is Toby.
And this is Rocky.
And if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy Pride, our little space on the internet where we talk about anything we want.
This is completely unscripted and not entirely accurate, but at least it's honest. Join us as we talk about everything and anything random live.
And if it's not your first time here, thank you so much for joining us again. Every Monday, we talk about games, and today we're talking about a board game that we actually found much more interesting than we expected.
Yes, and this is Paleo. Although I think that would be adjust your camera slightly. You're too much on the edge. Now you have light.
Yeah, but now you're blurry. See, it's so weird. Okay,
Just a wee bit back. 'Cause
Yeah, we're-
just get rid of this.
this video is gonna go back to you. All right,
That'll do. Okay. So let's talk about Paleo.
let's talk about Paleo. Paleo is a 1 to 4 board game released in 2020.
1 to 4 player.
No, 1 to 4 player board game released in 2020. You are playing a tribe of Stone Age characters who are trying to work together to eat, survive, develop technology, and get through whatever scenario you are playing in.
But this game is not Stone Age, which is another board game with a similar theme.
Mhm.
And it's super. And this box is resisting light. Okay. Just see the mammoth. All right. So Paleo was designed by Peter Rustemeyer and published by Hans Im Glück. And it is a 1 to 4 player cooperative game, which is interesting. And our initial comparisons were thinking about it like, of course, other co-op games like Robinson Crusoe, but it has some very interesting mechanics.
Mhm. The game uses action points, event cards. It uses a cooperative deck. It uses deck building, memory, scenario, and campaign uses, as well as individual characters having different powers. So let's open the box and see what it's like.
I guess we can use the A cards, the one that are always involved.
The box comes with your manual and guide of all the different card types. It has your rules manual, which then tries to teach you the rules. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't bad either. It
Yeah,
nicely,
it
nicely
took
guided you.
but it still took like it took actual play kind of to figure out the rough edges.
And then beyond that, we have the game components. We have a base where you place your cards that are discarded. We have a base for the cards that you can uncover during the game, as well as little reminders of what the cards may contain. We have a base for your goal, which is to build the mammoth painting, or worse, collect 5 skulls and you lose the scenario. We have then your workshop, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and it's I'll already warn you. The manual does not include instructions for how to put everything in the box. Board Game Geek forums will help you, but the manual does not. And you must put it in a very particular way for it to fit, which is kind of annoying.
You then have slots on the top where cards can be placed. There's smaller slots where tokens can be placed. There's a reminder down below for the standard 3 things that you can build: spears, stones, and fire, each of which with the cost of resources allow you to then have later tokens that you use in the game.
You have this very grim cemetery place, which is for cards that are removed from play,
Mhm.
specifically, and it matches this black card with an X symbol.
And then finally, the rest of the box is cards, 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 more cards, and lots of tokens.
Yes.
There are a mix of wooden tokens, as we can see here, which range from the resources, the food,
Hearts.
Mhm.
No, hearts are sorry, hearts are cards.
and
Hearts
then
are
you
tokens.
have multiple cardboard tokens, which range from the inventions you create, the tools you build, the hearts and lives you lose,
These are all white blobs to you, but
Mhm.
that's okay.
and the different mammoth pieces. So let's talk about the cards.
So, which one can I pull out? Just what is this? This is deck one. Okay. The decks are numbered, so it has a pseudo legacy element to it that you can play through preset scenarios in the manual.
Mhm.
It will tell you which cards to get, but certain cards are always there. So the card backs will depict different types of locations, like the fire is camp, the mountain, the river, and then there's the woods.
Mhm.
And this is sort of the main mechanic of the game. Seeing the card back and kind of predicting what might happen.
Mhm.
Because what happens is once you've built your deck, you will distribute evenly between players all the cards in your base deck. And then every turn, so let's say these are our cards, every turn each of us will draw 3 cards only with the backs visible and then decide which of the 3 we're going to do. And then this is a cooperative thing, so we can talk about it and like, okay, I think I'm gonna try to the river and hopefully get food.
I might focus on the forest because while you're in the river, I can collect wood.
Okay, it's a plan. So we put that down. Remaining cards
Go
put
back on your
back on
deck.
top of your deck, and then we reveal. And depending on the card,
I found a dodo.
I have a deer, and depending on it, there will be requirements. So this one's like it needs 2 spear, an eyeball, remove 2 cards, destroy this card, and then you'll get a reward.
Mhm.
And then Toby will have his card will have similar assortment of tokens. So he needs 1 spear, discard 2 cards, remove 1 card, and remove this card from play if you do it.
Now, one of the other interesting elements here, other than the fact that each player tends to have a task they try to fulfill, is that at the bottom, we have the symbol that shows 2 holding hands. This means you forego your own task and you help someone else accomplish theirs,
Cooperation.
which is a large part of what this makes this game so interesting. I might find myself in the perfect position to attack the dodo to collect food, but then I realize Rocky needs help against the deer. And if we defeat the deer, we don't just get food, but we also get a pelt. And some scenarios might require you certain things. Maybe you need pelts to build tents. Maybe you just need enough pelts and food so you can finally leave. The game offers 7 main modules. Each module is composed of at least 2 decks. Because if you look at the decks, and this won't be that clear, but you'll notice there's that stop symbol, which warns you that certain cards are best not looked at until you play them. There are also cards, for example, where was that? Here, that have a number on them.
Secrets.
And these numbers represent the many secrets that you uncover as you play the game. One example, and this is the very first one, is you discover that you have to learn to build
Tents.
you have to build your home base, your tents. So among the things to discover in that first scenario is you might meet others, and it has that nice growing story of as you play the game and you're going through a scenario. Secret, we have a chance to learn the secret. Do we do it now? Do we focus on food? Because similar to games like Robinson Crusoe, once the decks run out, that is the end of a day.
Yes.
And with the end of the day, you have certain requirements you must fulfill.
which are on the minimum is on the board, which is food for everyone. Then I think it's the scary one with the yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's a minimum. I think it's depending on the scenario.
Okay.
Because Because here at the bottom, you see this slots for 3 cards in the bottom. That's where you would place any requirements you may have.
And then one food
Here,
per
here, here.
one
Yeah, right.
food per person.
Yeah, 1 food per person.
And each player starts the game with 2 members of their tribe, and then the tribes can work together for cooperation cards.
Now, other tasks, on the other hand, open the door to fulfilling the scenario. And just to quickly demonstrate it here, it's going to be hanging, so I'll have to hold it. Um, you build your painting by finding the pieces.
Yeah. It's not a double layered board.
We should get those things that cause it to stick with static.
Like static.
Okay, so like for example, you might start building it and see it's building the painting, the mammoth.
So, and this is like ultimately your game trigger. Like once you've completed all 5 pieces of the mammoth, you don't even have to do an end of day resolution. You immediately win the game.
Mhm.
But at the same time, if you ever hit 5 skulls, then you immediately lose the game. And that's pretty tricky. So, we've played a couple of rounds of Paleo already. The first time we super lost. We survived several nights but did not achieve the goal. We didn't achieve the mammoth. Then the other time our most recent game, we managed to put together the mammoth painting before we finished the day. So we didn't even have to feed them at the end of the day. So the possibilities are kind of wild. It really depends on the card arrangement and then kind of how well the two of you or all the players work together to coordinate and achieve goals.
Now, the cards try to use a wordless approach, although there are words for the titles above. At the bottom, it uses symbology as to determine what you need. Maybe there are spears needed. Maybe there are eyeballs representing you need smarter people. That's where the people come in. Each tribesman or each member of the tribe you get comes with interesting artwork and symbols. They have their hearts, which represent how much punishment they can take before they die, and they have their corresponding symbol. This one's a craftsman, so he has a hammer. This one is a warrior, so he has a spear. This one is another warrior, so
A
he
hunter,
has
yeah.
a hunter, so he has a spear and a hammer. So finding these people is very vital to accomplishing things. Making or allowing your tribe to grow is important in finding success. However, that comes with the importance of now looking for more food, making sure you watch out because the moment anyone dies, that causes the whole tribe to get a skull. And once 5 skulls are earned, you lose.
So the game also provides which are mostly represented by tokens and that elaborate workbench thing is that there's technology in the game. So you can build stone tools, you can develop torches and all these things.
Mhm.
And these in turn can give you extra symbols without generating more people.
Mhm.
There is no rule that each tribesman can only carry one tool
So
as long as you
far,
have them. Yeah, well,
so far,
in terms of our playing so far, as long as you have the tokens, then you can keep moving forward.
So, for example, you might learn to build a stone hammer, which gives you a spear and a hammer symbol, which means you can use it to build or you can use it to attack. You might be able to build a raft, and we have symbols here that seem to be decks of cards. We haven't reached this point in the game yet, so we're not sure how it works. You might have a pelt, and you'll notice the pelt has an arrow symbol here, which says you give up the pelt in exchange for avoiding losing a heart. You might have the special herbs, which allow you to also
Heal.
prevent things.
Mm-mm.
There are so many things interesting, so many tokens that upon first glance you'll realize, wait, is that what I think it is? And that, I think, is one of the first problems of the game. With so many things readily available, either as tokens or as decks of cards, you kind of wish they mapped out the sets in a way that you don't spoil it for yourself.
Mm.
But unfortunately, since these scenarios and these modules require a mix of cards from different decks, plus you are asked to shuffle them together before you start, and then worse, it's not just grabbing this deck and then mixing it, but you grab this deck, then you have to find certain cards that you must bring out,
Put the secret and
and then
whatever. Put the daily
shuffle
requirement.
them in. You end up inadvertently spoiling yourself. And while we do our best not to read, even when our eyes are fast enough to notice things from all the years of spying other players and what they're doing during their turn,
I don't know what you're talking about.
the game does have that challenge of simply being so exciting that you might be shuffling the cards and you might, I thought I saw gorilla. And it's moments like that which can be fun but can also be annoying because you kind of spoil it for yourself.
Yeah, so even just setting up the game, you want to make sure that you separate the decks by
Mhm.
letter. But to see the letter, you have to flip it over to its
Yes.
open side.
And
So it's like,
it's
oh,
a bit
hi.
frustrating because while you're looking for it, you're like, oh my god, I saw some cards, and oh my god, I saw that red card, and now I know that thing is waiting for us. It helps that you haven't seen all the information, but since the joy of the game is the fact that you shuffle the deck, you choose from three cards, and those might be composed of decks you haven't looked at officially yet. Then there's that, what do I find? And that's such a beautiful moment.
So it has very awesome appeal on your first playthroughs because of this reveal aspect.
Mm,
Although you mentioned red cards, I realized it's the one thing we didn't highlight is that
yes.
certain cards look terrible. It is this brambly on fire
Mm.
territory. So this red card. The challenge with red cards is that if any action causes you to discard a red card to the
The discard cards.
discard red cards in
Yeah.
particular, it causes damage to your
Yeah.
people.
The discarding of cards is meant to represent the passage of time. You might have certain tasks that require you to discard 1 to 3 cards, just to represent that it's much more effort to do it. If any of the cards you discard happen to be red cards, you start losing hearts. It represents that you didn't plan your day properly, especially since in a hand of 3 cards, if you chose to choose one and put these back, then one of those will be the ones you'll discard when you fulfill this one.
Yeah.
So
So
that is part of the decision making process.
yeah, so like quick example, let's say red card. I don't want to touch the red card, so I'll do the mountain. So if you put those two cards back and then you look at the mountain and this is remnants, it helps you get stone. Both of its requirements are discard 2 cards from your deck, which would take the top 2 cards, put them into the discard area, and now you get damage.
Mhm.
But you'll achieve this, but there's no really avoiding it. And
Mhm.
we've had bad draws, bad shuffles where all your cards are red. So that's not fun.
That's me. All red cards.
But that's part of the adventure. So the backs, was this when you look at the backs of the cards, you'll just know that um, there's good or bad stuff coming,
Mhm.
and even your expectations will be subverted. There's another. Give me at the board with the quick guide. Um, so and we'll kind of angle it, but there's a reminder here in one of the cave boards that tells you, hey, forest most likely gets food and wood. River most likely pelt and food. Mountain most likely mountain pelt, and cave it's nicer stuff.
Mhm.
But we've had upsets where all right, I'm going to the forest. I'm going to the forest. Flip over. I found the person.
Or I'm going to the forest, flip over, I'm attacked! And
I'm dizzy, which is delightful. It's delightful. So no cards are absolutely good. No cards are absolutely bad. Even the red cards,
Mhm.
some of them are not that terrible. They're just annoying.
Now the game goes on to a second level of fun through that. While you're going through cards the first time, the joy of discovery appears, and there are those moments of sheer delight or terror as you discover, oh my gosh, in this scenario, this can happen, or oh my god, in that scenario, we'll have to remember to build this next time. But then the game pushes it further by including dice. At a later point in some of the scenarios, you will find yourself having to roll dice, and the dice suddenly dramatically change the required symbols you need for an action. What you thought was something that can be felled with 2 spears might suddenly require 6. Yes, the dice can be cruel.
Yeah. So and that we discovered that already in the second module. So it's not a major spoiler, and you do see that there are dice in the box,
Mm.
so you know they're gonna come up sooner or later. So it's an interesting challenge, and the problem with or the problem the part of the challenge of the game is like as you work through your decks together, and then you get to the end. Let's say you end the day and you're now gonna start a new day because you still haven't completed the mammoth painting. Then you kind of now have an idea of what most of the cards are, um,
Mhm.
because you've seen maybe half of them. But since many of the cards you've discarded face down, you still haven't seen what they are. So there's still an uncertainty element, but at least you kind of plan. And then certain cards, when you resolve them, have that black card with an X symbol, which means you remove them from the deck. So you also thin the deck, and then there are fewer things left, which is good and bad because sometimes you remove threats, but it also means cards that you clearly had the skills for and you've already achieved disappear, and you're left with the harder things.
So this game does have that nice aspect of as you get more familiar with the cards and more familiar with the scenario, you begin to realize what sort of plans you have to do. Sometimes that means, oh, remember this is where this type of thing attacks. We have to make sure we have this and that built ahead of time. And if you happen to have discarded those cards because of time passing and some of your other activities, then you might find yourself realizing we have to wait till the next day. We have to focus instead on surviving tonight. Find food, find food, find food. So it's all these delightful moments of story that happen just by playing the cards.
Yeah, so I appreciate the general emphasis on symbols because even your end of day goals are all symbol identified.
Mm.
So that kind of helps keep things thematic. And then the little names on each card in English, while it is something you're going to read, do are just enough to kind of give prompts and imply what the story of your day was. So it makes for a whole little adventure. And I think once after your first few plays, then you start to get a feel for like how it might go. You'll still have difficult moments because sometimes I'll have like I'll look at Toby's cards and then oh no, they're all red. But then
Yes.
I have a camp card and I could possibly like build a technology. So am I gonna risk it? And then that's our conversation.
Or like we'd have moments we're in, wait, we have enough wood and I'm gonna die. Go build something instead. Stuff like that. The box itself, as you can see here, has little symbols. You could use it as storage during play. We don't. We still prefer having everything out on the table. But you could see how it tries to guide you on where to keep what. Fitting things can be quite a challenge once you've built the structure. As you can see, this takes up a lot of space on the onset. And look, that's not much room for the box to be covered.
But then taking it apart every time is a bit too much work.
Mhm.
So yeah, so it's the box design didn't go all the way there from
Um,
an insert
and
perspective.
then let's have to go back to the guide. The guides are comprehensive. They try to explain a lot of things. Without bringing it too close, as you can see, there are cards listed here and descriptions for
Specific
each one.
images of cards.
And that's the plus and the minus to it. When you're looking for specific references, you're spoiling yourself again with so many things. I can't help but feel that the manual could have gone or benefited from something that certain escape room game manuals do, wherein maybe the image is on this page, but then it tells you to go to a different page for the text.
Thank
Or
you, Exit. Exit's recent guide on the puzzle versions of Exit
mm,
um involved this weird fold the manual thing, which is like on the very back, it's a guide to where all the solutions are. And then when you jump to that page, it's still like fold left, right. So I mean, there are ways around it. Basically, it could have used an index, and then maybe you jump to the card. Instead, you are eyeballing what the card is. It's not necessarily sorted by deck, and yeah, so it's a pain.
but again, I wish they just printed the secret cards separate from the main cards.
Mm-mm.
The fact that you'll have to, because you can dig out the separate deck and go, look, these have those numbers, and then the back, so you can still do it safely. But then you then have to look for that specific card, and it's so frustrating to. It's not just the secrets. Even there are some module specific cards that have to be separated,
Mm-mm.
and it's just annoying to do that. It's sort of like being told, um, to prepare something that you weren't supposed to use or you look at yet. Unlock and exit, well, more exit actually. For example, always has the strange things, but they try to tell you, really don't pay attention to the strange things, don't look at it too much, and they're aware that people will try to look at it. So the joy there, though, is that it's not literally placed beside the manual or it's not literally part of the manual's example images. So it allows you to still have some leeway and not spoiling things for yourself.
To balance things out, though, as much as we say that a lot of the delight of the game is the discovery, is the first time play,
Yeah.
is the unlocking, it's still a very solid game. So, and even knowing what some of the card backs may imply doesn't mean you're still going to know it.
Mhm.
Like there are certain card backs that have additional symbols on the back apart from the landscapes, but even those mean different things when you flip them over.
Mhm.
So there's still a good amount of surprise,
There,
and it's part of your long term fun of trying to remember what these cards may be.
every game makes use of three other main decks. One of the main decks comprises of all the possible people you can pull into your tribe.
The
Yeah,
hunters,
the
the
other one brings
gatherers.
in what they call dreams, which may be positive or negative cards. And then the last
Dreams are
one,
okay. On a side note, dreams are so weird. Half the time you're dreaming of animals to kill.
and then the last one is the technologies. And these three decks, since they are randomized when you play your game, do mean at each time you play, even if it's a module you're used to, it can feel very different. We were quite surprised how in one playthrough, thanks to a certain technology, suddenly something felt so easy.
Mm.
And we can only imagine that same scenario without that technology. Likewise, we've had one game wherein we were getting all the warriors we needed at the early part, and we were like, okay, this is easy. We don't see trouble with food.
Aggro.
And then we started to realize certain beasts don't care about your spears.
They need they need to be outsmarted and not just bruisered through.
And that so changed that by the time we played a second time with that knowledge, boy, did those things not have a chance.
So
But then
it's
other
tricky.
things still caught us by surprise.
Yeah, you'll never quite have all the symbols you need. It's always going to be a juggling act and a gamble. And a lot of times we'll have like we start with a plan. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. We flip over the cards. All right, only one of us can do their thing. I'll just help. And I give
Mhm.
up my card, and it's just part of the game.
So I guess for me to wrap up, um, the game reminds me of Robinson Crusoe in the sense that you are building your story, you are going through the scenario, you're trying to fulfill the scenario before death comes to claim you all. But the game also reminds me of Legendary in the sense that every time we've played Legendary, there is that initial sense of discovery. Whether it's a new expansion we've added, and then we'll see, hey, Mastermind, and then, oh my god, that's what he does. And then later on, despite now knowing what the cards are, it's do we have the ability to prepare for it before things get worse? So that's what I feel that this game offers. Its cooperative nature. Lastly, reminds me also of what was that other game? There was that other game.
What am I thinking of? I want to say something about cooperation. What game am I telling? What is it? What is the game? What's the game? The Crew.
Okay, go.
That's the game I was gonna say. The Crew. But is it right?
Mm.
Right? The
Mm.
Crew. The Crew is a trick taking game with minimal communication, but it has that same feel of I know what my deck is, and then I'm going to try to
Or
work through it.
I wish this was with you instead.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So there's that playthrough because one of the funny rules about the game is that as a player you can look at the card backs of your entire deck.
As long as
Just
you
don't rearrange them.
Yes.
So you can totally try to plan out things. Not that it's going to matter
Mhm.
because depending on the tasks you get, you may or may not need to discard cards.
And
It's
then just like if you
elegant.
were really in the situation, I might have, for example, a card, and I'll just make up details and like landslide. So I survive it and stuff, and then it's now discarded, and I'll be like, oh guys, next time there's a red card, there might be a landslide. So it's like you're warning your friends that you survived the landslide, and they might walk into it as well. If you're lucky, getting past the card will have a small symbol that says it's out of the deck. But if you're not, guys, there's poison, and it'll keep
And it may
coming.
come back. I guess little caveat is like, as much as we think it reminds us of Robinson Crusoe, one thing we super wish was the element of recurrence had a stronger driver for story.
Yes.
What I mean by this is that in Robinson Crusoe, you can get a nasty card. Let's say you ate something bad, and that is seeded into the event deck.
Mhm.
And when you see the card again, the player who initially triggered it will have a consequence. So then it's that anticipation, like I know this is gonna happen.
Is it that card?
Is
Has
it this
finally
card? Is
come?
it gonna happen? So we never quite get that feeling here because you
Mhm.
go through your deck, you shuffle it, then you redistribute, and you're not quite sure what you're gonna
At
get.
most,
So
we get that feeling after experiencing it, and it's the reshuffle.
yeah,
Now, is this it again? Is that thing showing up again?
but it's not like a personal vendetta. It's just,
Yes.
is it gonna happen again? And that's okay. I mean, like it's still a different game. But tricky things. So tips.
Communicate. You have to always communicate your goals. It's very easy to slip into this game thinking that you're all playing separate games because you're thinking, these are my cards, those are your cards, these are my sats. So, okay, I want to do this because I have that. You always have to look at each other. You always have to pay attention to each other's cards. And more importantly, pay attention to how many cards are left.
Hmm.
Because sometimes you might get the card you wanted, but you don't have the time to do it.
Yeah, there are cases where like if you keep helping one player so the other player doesn't act as much versus, let's say I keep helping Toby, then Toby's deck will most likely run out faster than mine.
Mhm.
Um and it's possible that then he'll run out of cards even though he has the objective cards that help us build the mammoth. Thankfully though, which is like a little caveat, is that at any point in time you can decide to stop. You don't have to get to the end of your deck, but it just feels like a waste because then you don't know. I think I have to put this the other way
Yeah.
around.
So that's where the game then resembles Tiny Epic Quest, where players can basically go through trying to quest and do things,
Push your luck.
but at the same point, there will be a point in time wherein you realize you will have to rest for the day, and if you don't rest for the day, then that could lead to your downfall.
So yeah, but communication. I can't stress it enough. Toby and I, when we end up playing it, we we can really talk through turns, and then we're just staring at card backs. It might be this, it might be that.
Mm.
Can we risk it?
Of
And
course, for me, it's campsite, and Rocky's like, "Oh yeah, you can just build the inventions." Yeah, but knowing my luck, remember, there's that one card, and it's true enough. It's that I'll get poisoned or something.
um, and the only other thing is like, because each scenario will generate unique goals for the night. Remember, number one, they only apply for nighttime. So if you manage to finish the scenario before you get to nighttime, lucky you. You don't have to worry about that. But on the flip side, as you approach night, as you know players are gonna start dropping out, then you're going to decide. Sorry, not decide. You need to double check. Will you survive the night? Will you meet the night goals? Because failing any night goal is a skull, and you don't want to do it. And typically, you'll have at least two goals to deal with.
Yes.
So please be mindful. So it's a weird juggle of get as many mammoth things, but also being prepared for um, the night if you have to deal with the night.
So last few things. The game currently has a few expansions. None of them are in English. We suspect they were earlier releases of the game, or at least regional releases uh, that found their audience.
Mm.
Hopefully, they'll have English translations and be available for others soon. The designer seems to have a good list of different games under their belt. This the generally it's Paleo, but then we see something called Barbaria, which surprisingly has very well formed men and women as part of the artwork, which then makes you wonder why in Paleo it's mostly just men. We have such a smaller range of characters to choose from in Paleo, and worse, they all look very Western world representation of how cavemen might have been.
And we recognize Shut Up and Sit Down's review also pointed this out. And at first we're like, it can't be that bad. It's not that major. And then over time, like, okay, maybe they're a little more light skinned than I'd like.
Maybe this place doesn't have a sun, so like all of them are super pale. It just feels like it was an opportunity to be more creative with the art, and they failed to do so, which is quite a shame because the artist is Dominic Mayer, who is known to have done lots of work for Wizards of the Coast, Voodoo Games, and so on and so forth, including Concordia, a game that we really love.
At least, especially the board game design,
Mhm.
not as much the digital. That's a different discussion. But
Mm,
I just gotta
mm,
say, just gotta say,
well, well,
I'm just being specific.
I've given my feedback in the forums. So I'll leave it there.
But did the feedback matter?
And then lastly, um, I really, really wish it didn't try to spoil itself every single time. That remains to be for me to be the biggest shame for this. Um, it was already very well thought out. It was very well designed. I cannot help but feel like the card distribution could have at least in printing made sure certain cards were separate.
Yeah, I mean, like they could have gone all semi legacy style. That the at least the letter specific decks just had extra cards at the beginning and the end. You
Or
know?
to the very least, all special cards were a separate deck that
Yeah,
had the code on the back. Because they're not mixed in the main deck anyway. You're supposed to have them separate and placed by the board.
yeah,
So they could have just made it a separate deck in the printing sheet from the very onset.
yeah. Or even the tokens because they came on cardboard sheets. Then you see everything. Then I
Mm.
wonder, like, could some of the tokens been boxed or bagged or just
Or
for
maybe to
reveals?
keep it cheaper, they could have just had them on sheets that were listed as A, B, C, and D,
Mm.
and pull out only sheet A, and then
Yeah,
later on pull out sheet B.
I
It,
guess the
it
challenge is the tech deck is available the whole time, which is most of your tokens. So it's random.
yeah,
So non-scenario tokens can come up very soon.
but then that still implies you could have had, let's say, sheets A, B, and C for the tech deck, and then sheet D for the scenario specific. So you could there could have been little nods like that that could have been done.
Because they made it semi legacy but didn't commit to legacy, so then it's not the experience because they wanted to stress it's a replayable game, which it is.
Yeah.
But these are like very very nitpicky things at the end of it.
So to close,
It's a good experience. I like the challenge. I don't know. I'm stressed out thinking about playing it with more than two players.
mhm,
So one blessing of the pandemic is that Toby and I have just been playing amongst ourselves. So
mhm.
the level of coordination is easier. I can't imagine you playing with a full set of four. Then
Mhm.
it's like, oh my god, so many
We're
variables to
eager
watch
to try
over.
it, but it's
Yeah,
still the
yeah.
pandemic as of this recording. Um, what soundtracks did we play when we were playing this?
Oh, I can't
I remember
remember.
I tried to find Apocalypta just for something that sounded older. I think at some point while playing, it shifted to Jurassic Park, which was funny. Um,
Yeah, it's like just not quite there. I don't know. I think things like Gladiator or just the lofty
unless
non-vocal
unless you
whatever
want to
music.
risk your heartstrings being torn apart and you play The Land Before Time, The Good Dinosaur, Lion King, and the like, just for the sweeping musical moments, but then it will hit you where it hurts with those
Oh,
emotional attacks.
for like randomness, you can just play the Dune movie soundtrack, the new Dune movie soundtrack. It's super wild. I mean, like it's not a consistent theming, but I think it could work. It has that weird tribaliness, and every now and then someone's screaming. Ah. Hey, Mitch.
So yeah, I think that covers our episode for Paleo. Um, to close, I still highly recommend this. I feel if you're the type of group that does enjoy cooperative games, if you're the type of person who likes games that challenge you, if you like games that tell stories, this one is a good one to check in. More so if you're the type who likes to feel that strategy finicky point of do we do this or that first? Do we do that?
Hmm.
Do we do this? Um, the game doesn't have protection against one person domineering and telling everyone what to do, unless you consider playing it wherein you really don't look at each other's cards. And, once the cards are revealed, you all have to make decisions based on what you can only see. But that's really up to you.
On the flip side, if you like Paleo, then we would also strongly recommend you can also go back to things like Robinson Crusoe.
Mhm.
Similar feel, different type of strategy, but good cooperative fun
And even more scenarios.
and even more scenarios.
Everything from the mystery tales to the Voyage of the Beagle, plus all the available adventures that are coming in the Book of Adventures that's soon to be released, that was launched through GameFound.
Or just stuff on the BGG forum. So many people make up custom scenarios. So since this is driven by cards, it's not as easy to create a custom scenario for Paleo. But I totally think it'll be possible. I'm sure people are gonna do
I
it.
think there's rules on how to make your own
Deck.
modules,
Mm,
yeah,
mm.
but I'm not looking at them yet.
Yeah, but let us get through the seven decks in the game first before we get to that point.
To close, the engine I feel shows a lot of promise.
Yes.
I would love to see this same engine used in different genres. I could imagine a fantasy type of game wherein you're building your group of adventurers, or um, maybe even a science fiction type of game wherein you're handling heists and you're building your crew every mission. And instead of your camp, you have your ship, and we still miss Firefly so much. But that's the idea. I see a lot of potential for this engine. I do hope they try approaching it in different ways. And um, I would not be against seeing a digital version of this game,
Hmm.
given that there is no actual tactile experience that needs to be retained.
That's true.
Despite the inventory shelf, despite the draw three and choose one,
They're
none
just
of
cards.
yeah, none of that really has that certain tactile feel.
It's like Wingspan. Wingspan is beautiful, has different beautiful components,
Mhm.
but has translated very well digitally.
Mhm.
So something similar could happen, and then your mammoth can move. I'd say,
Any last thoughts on your end?
I think that pretty much covers it. Definitely enjoying the game. Um, it I keep going back to Robinson because they're related, but they're still different experiences. And so like I don't think one is automatically better or worse than the other. It's
Mhm.
just very different flavors of a similar cooperative survival experience, and that makes for good story.
If they do have expansions or re-implementations of this one, um, I can't wait to see if they'll be compatible across the lines.
You want your caveman to deal with aliens in space or
Yes.
something?
Can't you imagine that? You'd be like mixing decks, and you like, we have to hunt for the T Rex, and you flip, and it's a cowboy. That'd just be fun.
Not everything is legendary. All right, so I think
That's our
that's it.
episode. Thank you so much for watching. We had a lot of fun, and we hope you'll join us again next time.
For questions or suggestions for future episodes, you can fill up the Google form at bit.ly Baduy Pride Ideas. You can follow us on Twitter, Altobi No Shade, RG Sunico.
You can also check out our blog, budaypride.com, for all the previous episodes and stuff about us. And yes, as Mai said, Wingspan is good on digital, but never smooth when setting up things.
Especially when you're playing multiplayer. Anyway, so um, uh, do feel free to continue the conversation in the comments below. What did you think about Paleo? Do you have other cooperative games you would recommend, or just other games with cavemen? Let us know. Oh, I forgot. Wait. Open very briefly. The funniest thing, which always cracks me up, is uh, on the inner lining of the box, because Zeman is the publisher. It's not super clear. Um, it's an ad for Stone Age. Of course, if you like Paleo, maybe you want to play Stone Age. So you can put that down. Um, be sure to subscribe for notifications, whether on Facebook or YouTube, so you don't miss our next live stream. Once again, I'm Rocky.
And I'm Toby.
And
And
this
this
is
is
Baduy
Baduy
Pride.
Pride.
You want to make a face? Make a face. Make a face.